nhớ dùng được số món về Rachel và và dùng xe giải tỏa ý trong sai sự đặc là sai số món lúc này lúc chỉ liên tục nút tiếp về cho trên cái nhớ rồi nó cũng mua được quá trình sinh tôi cũng cái sĩ thải nhớ rồi nó xử lý cái thời tụi nó giờ thiền hồ giờ ý tụ trên tao toàn thì cái sai cha cái giang là ý tụ DA nhớ rồi lúc trong Sacramento, California chuẩn đời giờ ở Charlie và giờ ý tụ ở sở chế nhớ rồi trên những sản phẩm nhớ rồi luôn trong Sacramento thì chỉ ta lên đây ý tụ lự thời cho nhớ rồi Hmong có ý sinh là Hmong 18 Council nhớ rồi luôn trong Sacramento thì chủ gì nó cũng cho biết mình chỉ ở được quá trình sinh nó bây giờ còn cái sĩ thảm rồi toàn đây nhớ rồi
Yeah, nhớ rồi.
Hello, Thien.
Hello, good evening. Thank you so much for having me on your show, Richard, and also thank you very much for Charlie as well for bringing me on the show. So thank you. It's a great honor to be here to speak with the Hmong community.
Yeah, it's our pleasure to have you on the program too. First of all, I would like to have you two introduce yourself to the viewers so they know who you are.
Nhớ rồi ít chỗ này sẽ cái trang để nó quý do Charlie Vang do từ bắt thằng cái tổ chức một vang nhớ được Sacramento đó một chỗ sáng phê phiêu là do từ lựa thời cho được Sacramento cho 18 Council đó ha chỉ do từ Vice Chair trong được từ tổ chức xây mà nó lúc campaign ha cú lúc bây giờ Charlie Vang này do chỉ cái team một vang nhớ của Sacramento nó rong sát tôi cộng cho Hmong Crossing TV nhớ cho Sacramento ở California ha mình wiki rong sát cái mà nó tao chỉ cho nó chỉ cái trang xuất lại.
So my name is Thien Ho. I'm an assistant chief at the Sacramento District Attorney's Office. I am a refugee. I was born in Vietnam, and in 1976 I escaped Vietnam on a fishing boat with my family. We ran out of gas, ran out of food, ran out of water. We were just drifting on the ocean until we were rescued and taken to a refugee camp in Malaysia. Arrived in the United States and had nothing but the clothes on our back. Slept on a mattress that somebody threw away, and now I am an assistant chief at the DA's office in Sacramento, and I'm running for Sacramento District Attorney.
Ý rằng gì mới chắc được cho sai sự đời bây giờ sĩ thả hay lũ anh kỹ sư giờ thì lần từ họ chính cả sẽ rồi khi nó nông cho nhau dân ở đây cái là họ xài đồ này chỉ ta lần đầu tập cả cũng một cái sĩ thản cho Thien Ho ta là cũng một cái sĩ thản cho Charlie mà là thì là một sĩ thản cho hai quân Hmong giờ lý chuẩn gì là một cú cho bên một sai cho cái sĩ thản cho Thien. Hi Thien.
Yes.
Now I would like to start talking to you, asking you some question about you running for Sacramento DA. First of all, can you tell us what's the DA? What's the job of the DA?
So a district attorney is a lawyer, and it is the district attorney is the highest or the top law enforcement person in the entire county. So in all of Sacramento County, the DA is the highest law enforcement position. So what happens is, let's say there's a robbery. Your grandmother or your grandfather is walking at the store. He's coming out of the store, she's coming out of the store, and they get robbed. Somebody robs them. Then the police show up. They take questions from people. They talk to the witnesses. They talk to your grandparents. And then what happens is they catch the person that committed the robbery. Then they write a police report. They send it to the district attorney's office. And my office reviews the file. My office looks at the file and then decides, are we going to prosecute somebody for murder? And if the answer is yes, for robbery, then we handle the case. We prosecute the case from beginning to end. We take it to court. Our job is to make sure that you as the victim get justice, that you as the victim are safe. And we put the person who committed the crime in jail, and we make sure that they are held accountable.
You mentioned that you currently hold a position as assistant chief DA in the Sacramento. Why you want to running for the Sacramento DA?
Most definitely. I think it's important to have a district attorney, the top law enforcement person in the county, that share our experiences, as refugees, as immigrants, as somebody who understands injustice. When the communists came into Vietnam in 1975, on April 30th and Saigon fell, they arrested my uncle. My uncle worked for the South Vietnamese government. Without a judge, without a jury, without a prosecutor, they sent him to a re-education camp in the jungle where he was tortured for 7 years. So my family knows injustice. My family, just like your family, knows injustice. And so when we come to this country is our country. And so it's important to serve our community. You know, I talked to Charlie, and Charlie many months ago said this to me. He said, you could be the best doctor in the world. You could be the best lawyer in the world. You could be the best business person in the world, Thien. But what did you do for your community? And so those words that Charlie gave me were very inspiring. What have we done for our community? So it's important to serve. There are 2,400 elected district attorneys in the entire country. And of those 2,400 DAs, there are only 8 that are Asian. Nobody from Southeast Asia. Nobody who is Hmong, Laos, Mien, or Vietnamese. Nobody from Southeast Asia has ever been an elected district attorney. And so it's time for us to say, this is our country. This is our community as well. And it's time for us to serve our community beyond ourselves.
In the Sacramento area, what is or what are the issues that are facing the resident there right now?
You know, there are 3 real big issues. Number 1 is homelessness. We see a lot of homelessness, people who are living on the streets. And when we're talking about homelessness, we're talking about mental health and drug addiction. Number 2, we're talking about gun violence. There is an increase in gun violence, and we need to crack down on that. And the third thing is, we've all seen it and we've experienced it, an increase in hate crimes and hate incidents, especially against Asians. We see racism and we see hate crimes against Asian Americans. So those are the 3 things that I think really affect our community.
So when is the election?
So the election is going to be on June 7th. That's 36 days away, June 7th. And on June 7th, it's going to be done and over with because there's only 2 people running, myself and a person who is not a prosecutor. And so we will be done on June 7th in about 5 weeks.
Now, as far as DA goes, is that anyone in the Sacramento County can go and vote for you, or they have to live in a certain area?
It's everybody in Sacramento County. So if you are a registered voter in Sacramento County, you could be living in North Sacramento. You could be living in Meadowview. You could be living in Elk Grove. You could be living in the city of Sacramento. It's the entire county of Sacramento. If you're a registered voter, please vote for me.
Crime seems to be increasing in the big cities, especially like in Sacramento area. What are your plans, to tackle some of the crime and how to, handle that?
Most definitely. So a couple of things. Let's talk about homelessness. People who are homeless often are suffering from mental health and drug addiction. So we need more treatment facilities for our homeless people and making sure that they get their mental health and drug treatment. Additionally, when it comes to gun violence, we've had 16 people this month, in the month of April, killed in Sacramento by gun violence. And so what should we be doing with gun violence? The vast majority of guns that are used to commit these violent crimes are guns that are stolen. And so what we need to do is make sure that people who steal guns, people who possess guns illegally, and people who use guns will be prosecuted and held accountable under the law. But we also have to work with our juveniles and our young people to make sure that we get them away from gangs, that we stop them from getting in trouble in the first place. So with our juveniles, one of the things that I want to work on is creating a sort of a apprenticeship program so that when they are in the criminal justice system, our juveniles under the age of 18, they get job training, whether it's by the construction workers, the sheet metal workers. We give them job training and hope so that when they get out of the criminal justice system, they have a job. But we need to always start with accountability. If you break the law, if you violate the law, you will be held accountable by the law, by the district attorney.
Since our viewer mostly Hmong, do you have any message to the Hmong community, especially in the Sacramento area?
You know, the Hmong community, the Southeast Asian community, Asian community in general, one of the things that we value is our elders. We value our family. We value our elders. We value our leaders. We value community. And so being somebody from Southeast Asia, being an immigrant and a refugee, it's important to have a district attorney, the top law enforcement position in the county, share our same values, share our same life experience, share the experience of being a refugee, of wanting freedom, searching for freedom. And it's important that we have a district attorney that have those values. Why? Because in the future, we want to have more Vietnamese, more Hmong, more Lao, Mien attorneys and prosecutors, for our young people to see that you can become a DA, that you can become a lawyer, that you can become an elected official. That's important for our future, for our kids, because this country is our country. This country, this community is our community. And so it's important to have a DA that share our same life experience and values.
If you are, elected to become a DA in the Sacramento area, Sacramento County, what are you gonna do for the Hmong community? What's some of the things that is or in place for the Hmong community?
Yes, so a couple of things that we're going to do, and we have been doing. So number one is it's important to really have that sort of example of a leader that shares the same value, and have more Asians, Southeast Asian prosecutors. But we also need to make sure that we educate our elders and our community about hate crimes, about the difference between a hate incident and a hate crime, and really build that relationship with the police, so that when we are victims of crime, whether it's a robbery, whether it's a burglary, whether it's a hate crime or a hate incident, we have that relationship with the law enforcement, with the police, and with the trust to make sure that we get justice, that we are safe where we live, safe where we raise our children, safe where we have our businesses, safe where we go to work, and safe where we gather to celebrate and to mourn.
You have talked about some of the things that you will be doing. Let's talk about some of the platform that you have lined up for you.
Yeah, so one of the things that, we're going to really address homelessness, gun violence, we're going to address domestic violence. But one of the important things I want to do is I want to start an advisory council. And this advisory council is made up of people from many diverse communities, is to advise and give recommendation and tell the district attorney what's going on in the community and how the community feels. And it's important to have somebody from the Hmong community sit on that advisory committee that meets with the DA and has a voice with the DA. It's important to have a seat at the table where leadership decisions are made, but it's also important not only to have a seat, but a voice. And we need to have a representation from the Hmong community there at the table at the advisory council.
Well, let's talk about law in this country. Many people feel powerless against the law in this country, particularly in California. A lot of minority live there. So some think about the law as, harsh, hard for them. What's your take on the law in California, especially in the Sacramento area?
What I think is we have to have a justice system that is fair to everyone, and that it serves all communities, not just some communities, but all communities, immigrant communities, refugee communities, Asian communities, Latino, African American, all communities. And so the law needs to serve everybody equally and fairly. But something's very important. We have to have our voices heard. And how do you have your voices? How do you make sure that our leaders, that the government, that law enforcement, that the courts listen to our community, our voices? This is how you do it. You vote. You vote. That's how you make it heard. You and we need to vote at the ballot box so that we elect leaders that have our experiences, that have our values and our perspectives. So we need to vote. That's how you make your voices heard. That's how you change the law. That's how you change the system. And that's how you make sure that this country is our country as well.
Why is it important for minority like us and people like us be part of this country, become effective, in the way that you are doing right now, become a DA, become part of a different level in this country? Why is that important?
When we first came to this country, I didn't have a bed to sleep on. So my dad and I found a mattress somebody threw away. We cleaned it up with bleach, and that's what my dad and I slept on. I couldn't speak English, and so I ended up learning English from watching cartoons and going to ESL class. And when you first come to this country, you know what you worry about? You worry about learning the language. You worry about a place to live. You worry about getting shelter, about getting food and clothes. You worry about taking care of your family. But after you are able to take care of your family, it's important for us as a community to be heard in the community so that we're not separated, so that we're not isolated. And so it's really important for us as refugees to take that step forward and become an elected official. You look at in Fresno, you look at here in Sacramento with my VANG, with Sean Yang, you look at in Minnesota, you look at in Fresno, where we have a lot of Hmong elected leaders. Why do we have so many Hmong elected leaders? It's a beautiful thing. It's a great thing. But that's because we want our voices heard. We want to make sure that this is our country and that our government serves us as well. And so it's important to get involved. It's important to vote. It's important to run for office and be a leader.
What made you the most qualified person to become a Sacramento DA?
So the district attorney is a lawyer, and we go into court. I have been a prosecutor for 20 years. 20 years I've been a prosecutor. I've prosecuted every type of case you can have, from sex cases. I've prosecuted gang shootings, gang murders. I prosecuted drug cases. I prosecuted homicides. I was on the homicide team for 4 years where I prosecuted homicide cases, including the Golden State Killer. Then I became the supervisor of the gang team, the hate crime team. So I prosecuted hate crimes. I've also taught on hate crimes. I've also been the supervisor of our narcotic team, and now I am a chief in the office. I help manage the $85 million budget of the office. I've supervised hundreds of prosecutors. So what's really important is that we elect a district attorney who knows how to be a prosecutor, who is a prosecutor, and has the expertise and the experience to do so. And I have the experience in the courtroom, in the executive room, in the classroom, and in the community to be the next district attorney.
Well, before we go, any last word for the Hmong community?
Again, we share a lot in common. We share our experiences, we share our values, we share our culture, and it is time to elect a district attorney that shares those values, and to have an Asian American, a Southeast Asian American, be the district attorney. And I think that is going to serve our community. It's going to protect our community, and it's going to be a beacon of light for our community. So please, on June 7th of this year, please vote for Thien Ho, H-O, for Sacramento District Attorney, Sacramento County District Attorney. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your time to come to our program and talk about what you have in place for the Hmong community and for yourself, and good luck for the coming up election. And now I would like to turn to Charlie and talk to Charlie, and I might come back to you, or Charlie might come back to you, so if you can stay on the line. 做这那么的了么是他们去做中的高考陆陆后来我了么做填后是他天了么去班呢也都见到呢个都看得啥来着
Jolly thầu như là thiê bé cũng chỉ bảo như trong thế cái phong hiệu đó chỉ thầu là thiê như cái như họ tôi approach cho bé cho mong Sacramento leader nhá cho họ nó cái như tôi biết cho thì như lúc họ phía thì lúc chuyện mua trong lịch trả thì như tôi chung bự thì như lúc này trong lịch trả như cái như chỉ giờ đây bảo là bé tôi tới trong đó tôi thế bé trả nhiều bây giờ là nó không tôi nó kia nhá là té khát té bé cũng kia nhá là thế ya chế thọ bé tôi cho cho nó chế bé kiaอย่างนี้จันนี้อย่างนี้เราหรือ包装的了อย่างมีการ coach the culture process called the difference about religion the different 的chế chế đắc hoa như giáo lý gia như bao装con đó thì mong nó lên nó dùng lý gia thì mong họ cho lý gia mong nó như lỡ là quýอย่างlỡ cũng đã thử cho lâu nhỏ cho lâu cho bé nhỏ chế con nó khó và như bao cho bé cha chế cho bé cho cái và lúc community cho kế và cho lâu thế cho lúa giờ lên đó thì đi sau này và tuần chỉ cũ thế cho hai đứa thì có cũ set meeting cho biết cho kiên leader thì biết tôi chỉ thà thì biết thế này bỏ rong thì nô có chuyện đó thì nhiều lịch trả cho biết chuyện mong thế giờ nhiều lịch trả cho nên Southeast Asia cho nên thế thế thì khó nữa qua nó giờ vì nó khó nữa tí muốn nên gạo lúc xong bất sự bất cần là experience chia qua tụ cứ lý cho lò ba lò mua cho nên cái qua cái sầu đó cho gang cho drug liền cho tuần này cho mua phò nhiều phò nếu mua bao nhiêu ya cho khó tiêu khó yếu bao phải thì khó tiêu khó chụp bao phải cho nên qua tụi mình có lý xong ta xin nó thì theo liên kết là qua tụ lựa thay cho nhớ cho họ cho cứ lý cho bộ lên thế nên chỉ tụ tuổi nhất sẽ cho gì giàu chi lan cái nữa là nhớ cho họ cái là sĩ cho cái lý cho đó thế nên chỉ có sư phụ khen thở cho cái chân lý cho thế chỉ biết chân lý bảo rong hạt tiền nếu có chủ yếu tụi này và nếu chủ yếu tụi này chỉ trả phí chỉ nếu tụi này họ thả用gì thế mua chỉ là sẽ là tàu số lý chạy chỉ còn là biết để bảo tiền còn đó giờ biết họ mong cho kiểm tra giờ linh đó biết chân lý của chân lý nếu như mà của trả lời ít từ lử thay cho nhân lực lử campaign rồi vậy share campaign nhớ trong sát cho nên Asia API này stand for Asian Pacific Islander đó thì giờ bên mong cho tất sự hậu giờ lên đó cụ thể lên qua hồ thì bên thì sẽ đầu thì là thì bảo rong thì ba trăm người thì bên thì là bảo rong qua hồ chế cho cái đó bên chế mong như họ nó gặp bảo thì tụi này từ bên thì là sai thì là sửa chế tao cho bên
xử lý cái giờ ít tu lử thơ như trong đờm cộng hòa mong có gì console như trong Sacramento cái thia hay cho sự kiện de paper này bố mà cái sự công ty lý cho cái sai cha và có những như trong de Thien hồ thia
cho nên bé cái sai cha như họ do Sacramento đó màเขาchỉ đó mà bé mong bé mua đi cầu xa có gì sinh chỉ là đó những mua có structure hay thì bé cho thời đó thì thường nên cáiตัวmua nhau cái họ nói là bé mua cầu gì từ bắt thành chỉ béตัวmua nhau cái bé thìว่าcó 18 council的 OK 叫不谈是了，只要叫水节啊，叫不谈的，这都水节的，这些呢都要 OK，这别以后叫偷都要 OK，这别这里抓到一头偷，这都里偷，这抓到一头偷叫，这抓到古蒙里偷叫的叫不谈的，这别是他别保障了的，这个工地，单到是工地，这别把里面么还做热生，叫生呢一个股这么还做这么话。หรือสิ่งนี้จะลงให้เราเจนี่จะเคลียร์เราไปป้าเอาไทยเที่ยไปของเราไปกุมตัวเราไปเที่ยชาวไปเราไปเจเที่ยก็เคลียร์เราแต่ก็ต้องจะจะสวดตัวก็ยังมองนะก็ว่าน้อจอนะเจปอจอนะเจก็ไปที่สายตาแต่ตัวน้อยอย่าตัวเรากาตาจอไปมองลูก community เราป้าตาไปหนุ่มละจีนที่ป้าตานะเจนี่ให้ตัวเกินหนุ่มยุ่งยี่เจจอลี่khi khó thì khó để thế ta lên đây là như vậy tụi này và như cho lối giờ cái đi trong một tuần như lúc học phía như thì toàn đây nó giờ như tao có từ chỉ là chỉ đi mua khó opportunity như vậy cho tao bé mong là giờ Asia nó cho và cái tiền lối giờ cho mình cả tao cho họ đi nó khó tao đi là nó chỗ mua giờ thế chúng mình từ Philippines nhá học sẽ thế nó chỉ chơi cái nó đi chỉ khó này lúc học phía cái biết chia sẻ thì lên toàn đây bây giờ mua được chỉ用了的钱那的要，然后做给你教授这边主摸朋友的呢， họ này họ bé theo cái cùng thế thì bé mua cho cái cùng thế đi đó thì bé có ba cái đi tao
có giờ tụ tàu mua cái shit hàng đó thiện hôn tàu thiê chỉ ta lên đó có giờ ít tu là một ban này kia có chia cái sai cho cái riêng nhất đồ kia nó thiê có sai thì giờ thì thiện hôn riêng này bên mong này bộ tàu cái ba lịch chẳng được lọt thiê giờ tận đây nó có sai lịch chẳng
bé谈论领导样真的，但bé忙考 culture process 中的讲，bé 中的那侬bé莫对面是厉害的叫老家头发的接受叫咩样？cái thế ra được chỉ dress up thế ra nữa dù giờ lấy cái này有钱到有鸟cái老都叫咩样cái头了跟到样 zooming cái老都不好了就不好了搞个要cái啲草要做了在家那了第是嘛有主要nữa thiên nhiên tụi mình cái tao cho vậy nó thì bé mong nó cho lâu yên有找bé nhỏ tụ bé cho lâu cho một tao chế lâu đi rồi bé nhỏ ở nơi là cho xe tụ chỉ là tụ thì bé vào bé chế sức chỉ con nó có khó ở bé chế xe hạt thì giờ nơi tao là nơi ba cho bé khó sinh nó thế tao lên đó bé mua cho cái ít khó cái muốn cho lối thả thì bao nhiêu xưa nè thì cho ít khó chỉ bao那这些人的头天到了，天有你要到了，你叫去你敲，要找一些那你有么时候，背后么有么时候，advice 背后的考对要选对症要，可能要帮到背蒙 community， 有去帮人下背蒙 community 有用来背补，我给做给我去炒包了，也可能你把选那天你把到比较community 比较忙我就都觉得要的可能。còn gà có tao cho đi thì anh nhớ ba và tổ chức thế ba với cái chỉ thì khó từ sập lo còn sập lo này nhớ sẽ là cho biết cho community leader còn nó giờ khó biết sát tao trên này sẽ nó biết trên thì giờ biết số tu mong là từ liên nó có nó là biết bao vô đó nữa giờ đi tao là biết chia sẻ thì toàn thế nó biết mong Sacramento giờ nhỏ giờ bỏ cái rồi thế giờ chỉ bỏ cái đua thế giờ chỉ nhua lên giá ta lo là
vấn đề ở sinh giải này bộ chỗ đây đã chỉ của chỉ tôn nông có thể có xã thả chưa sinh chấp rồi thả rồi cho nhiều gì cái tên trả để cho bao nhiêu nhớ cho họ luôn trong xã của mình rồi hậu sinh California cả.
我讲到古厝边路呢，古下做nhiều gì cái tên trả nhớ để bộ mình wiki là giờ cho mình store đã là giờ nhớ cho họ tự xử là giờ nó cũng show đó là có sự đơn giản ha chúa sẽ là do đó tiền June 7 đó là giờ để cho mong mà cho cho bà là cái này tôi là thọ cái này bao vô cho thiền hồ rồi nó khó là biết cho leader có gì xây nó nhớ là có chúa xây nhớ Sacramento County nó biết đi chia sẻ ha biết cũng thế luôn rồi bây giờ tụi vô nó chỉ biết bao vô khai cho lâu ha cho lùa biết bao vô cho vì nó khó nếu mua chút kế ha lúc gì mua chia sẻ nếu chơi càng tao biết chỉ mong tụi mình biết số gì lên đó biết một lần chi biết một câu chuyện lần chi mình sản phẩm chủ vấn đề mình vô sau phong xã hội đó cũng cho lấy vàng nó bây giờ tôi bắt đầu cho lấy vàng cái tớiตัวchế mua vàng nó một trang phê phê cũng số đông giờ cho ít trâu xiang cho sụt bé mấy hụt đó cũng nên có bao số màu nè cũng có帮 clarify 的咩个被包一类他的咩做读vote 呢这边 please vote for Thien Ho you have any question do not hesitate ask me 24 hours 916-717-6603 I will be glad to talk to you or I will call Thien to come over to talk to you privately in a little meeting to be sure that you got to know and understand about Thien Ho. Thank you very much. 我讲到这Richard ก็หาตัวมงคลสินทีวี我讲到个边么子给帮助哈做一多公边么喏加下他到这边这个是做要他到天到了被研究到没都咋子个边到帮助天呢 if Thien has we surely Thien will be selected he selected Thien and myself and the team will not forget about Hmong Crossing TV that has been donated time and supporting us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Well, Thien, any last word that you would like to share with the Hmong community?
It has been a true honor to be on the show. I really thank Charlie VANG and the 18 Council for the endorsement and really for the Hmong community support. We are going to lift each other up. A rising tide lifts all ships, and we're going to lift each other up. our communities up together. Thank you so much, and vote for Thien Ho for Sacramento County District Attorney on June 7th this year. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you for your time and thank you both of you. 一种呢，这个人家他叫朋友是的，可能有个把大人的有个么个西谈，他做天后，要一度能伢啦，真大到，这个是这个因为一度的，要种的 Sacramento County，其他人的工作做 Charlie 吧，要一度旅特叫要种的共和盟国议 Council，要种那种 Sacramento。ที่จิตตาเลนเดนเนี่ยตัวเธอจ่อเนี่ยตัวเดินเจนสังว่าเนี่ยตัวลุ่นทองสาวคนไม่รู้ที่อยากชิดท่าจ่อเจเกษเจ้าก็ยิ่งละตัวเทียนโฮอย่าลีกูรงเชียที่ว่าจนนั้นดาวตัวเนี่ยส่วนตัวตัวที่เราไม่ใช้เจ้าเกชิดท่าเนี่ยตัวรอนเท่ากับลุ่นตัวเด็กพอเห็นเนี่ยส่วนตัวก็จวนชีเกณฑ์นักการยารงกูอยากรู้จักมันว่าเป็นมาชิดชัว